Hello, and welcome to Independent Lifestyles Incorporated, a Center for Independent Living. This is part one of your Board of Directors training. Our mission is a team promoting independence and choices for people with disabilities, their families, and communities. Our training objectives include that board members will gain insight about ILICL as an organization, as well as its programs and services. Board members will have an increased understanding of your roles and responsibilities, and will increase your knowledge of disability awareness and relevant issues. We hope that you'll gain insight regarding issues affecting centers for independent living, including the history of independent living. The history of people with disabilities is not a pleasant one. It wasn't until 1973 when the Rehab Act was passed, and for the first time in history, civil rights of people with disabilities were finally protected. People with all disabilities have a history of segregation, isolation, and alienation, not to mention a lack of physical accessibility and societal accessibility. It was the history of CILs that really started to change all of that. It began with the inception in 1982 with founder Justin Dart. Justin had post-polio and used an iron lung. He wanted to go to be educated at Berkeley and was denied, saying he's too disabled. Long story short, Justin not only founded the first Center for Independent Living in Berkeley, California, but went on to become the head of the Federal Rehabilitation Services Agency. There are 8 centers for independent living in Minnesota, and each one is its own private 501c3 nonprofit organization. However, we are bound together as we are all certified as centers for independent living, and we have the same funding stream through the state of Minnesota, and we have the same core services that we must provide. Independent Lifestyles Incorporated was founded by Executive Director Kara Ruff in 1997. So you might be asking yourself, what are some of your board member roles and responsibilities? First, some general expectations, which include to support the organization's mission, purpose, goals, policies, programs, services, strengths, and needs. Suggest nominees to the board. We really like that if you are going to leave your position on the board that you find a replacement. We ask that you make a serious commitment to participate actively in committee work. There isn't much of that, so we really ask that you come to the 6 meetings a year and at least 1 organizational event per year. We ask that you're engaged in the organization's annual evaluation and strategic planning when necessary. Follow trends in the organization's field of interest. Attend activities and events sponsored by the organization whenever possible. In terms of your meetings, we meet every other month. We ask that you prepare for and participate in board and committee meetings and other organizational activities. Ask timely and substantive questions while supporting the majority decision. Maintain confidentiality of the board's executive sessions and speak on behalf of the board only when authorized to do so. Suggest agenda items periodically for board and committee meetings to ensure that significant policy-related matters are addressed. And counsel the executive director as appropriate and offer support. In accordance with the governance policy model, we ask that you serve the organization as a whole rather than special interest groups. Avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest and disclose any possible conflicts to the board chair in a timely fashion. Maintain independence and objectivity and operate from a sense of fairness, ethics, and personal integrity. Never accept or offer favors or gifts from anyone or to anyone who does business with the organization. In terms of fiduciary responsibility, we ask that you exercise prudence with the board in the control or transfer of funds. Faithfully read and understand the organization's financial statements and otherwise help the board fulfill its fiduciary responsibility. We do generally 1 fundraising event each year. We ask that you evaluate your personal gift with consideration at the leadership giving level and make your commitment prior to the campaign kickoff. Work hard to be involved with the event and do what it takes to make it a success. Participate in fundraising for the organization, including active participation from the business or organization that you may represent. So, where does Independent Lifestyles get our funding? We have many funding streams and operate on many different calendar years. The first one is our state and federal allocations, which come through DEED, which is known as the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. Originally, that was 100% of our funding, and now is only around 14%. We are a United Way-sponsored organization, and they sponsor one of our programs called the Profit Program. The majority of our funding comes from many fee-for-service opportunities that we have gained, which include contracts with County Human Services, medical health plans, Department of Rehabilitation Services, and many others. Of course, we do our share of fundraising, we write grants, and are always open for donations. Currently, ILICL's annual budget is around $4 million. What is required to be a Center for Independent Living? We must be a 501c3 nonprofit. We must be certified by the state as a Center for Independent Living. We must have a staff and board comprised of 51% people with disabilities, so that we are truly governed by those we serve. That's what consumer control means, and that's what being a Center for Independent Living means. We must serve people of all disabilities, so we serve people with physical, cognitive, mental, emotional, chemical, sensory, all disabilities, which leaves a wide range of programming to be done. We also serve people from birth to death. We must ensure services are conducive and responsive to our respective communities, which is really a beautiful part of being a CIL because it affords us the opportunity to create programs and services based on what our consumers and communities are telling us they want and need. We must provide 5 core services, which include information and referral, peer mentoring, in which we hire and train people with disabilities to offer themselves as mentors and role models to others who might be struggling with social isolation and issues relating to their disability. Advocacy, which is provided both on a state and national level. Independent living skills training. Nursing home relocation. Those are our 5 core services that we must provide as a CIL. So here are some basics related to our organization. We serve a total of 11 counties in central Minnesota, which include Stearns, Benton, Sherburne, Meeker, Mille Lacs, Morrison, Candy, Ojai, Wright, Isanti, Kanabec, and Chisago counties. However, we were in approximately 29 counties delivering services last year alone. We have approximately, at any given time, 55 to 60 independent living staff and approximately an additional 55 to 60 PCAs or personal care attendants who work in people's homes. There's no requirement on how long or how short a term we work with an individual. Our services are consumer controlled and consumer directed, so that means somebody might accomplish their goals in a very short amount of time or might need us indefinitely depending on their ability to maintain their independence. Our referrals come from a wide range and can really come from anywhere. We take them from the state, from the county, from other disability-related organizations. We take personal referrals from current consumers, or anyone can just walk in off the street and request services. Some of our programs do require that they come from our contractual source. Being an organization that serves people with all disabilities, we often get asked, what disabilities do you serve the most? Historically, centers for independent living have served a majority of people with physical disabilities. However, something that is unique to us is that we serve predominantly those with mental and cognitive disabilities or multiple disabilities. This ends part 1 of your board training. See you back here for part 2.